It is the Two Guys Garage Podcast. He is Kevin Bird, and I am Willie B. And today, oh man, fired up. We got one of our buddies, our friends, and this guy's a straight knock you to face throttle jockey. Like when you think like miles per hour, hip hop hooray, getting crazy in the desert, asphalt, concrete, quarter mile, road course, autocross, time attack, it doesn't matter. This guy lives it, eats it, breathes it, loves it. His name's Dave Smith. Check out Factory 5 Racing. Straight stud, y'all. He makes crazy cool horsepower, absolute fun. And I gotta tell you, Kevin, you know firsthand, this guy creates, Dana White recently said he creates holy moments. This is what our boy Dave Smith does, but for the automotive industry.
Oh, absolutely. We've known Dave for 15 years or more. One of the best car guys out there, whether you're around a car or grabbing a cold one. He knows how to build, he knows how to drive, he knows how to have a great time. And most importantly for everybody listening, he knows how to create some of the coolest, like you said, beep moments or products out there. And so it's all about build your own. We're going to be building our own in this podcast today, hot rods. Now, he's been in that hot rod game for a long time. Everything from the Cobra Roadster to, the Daytona Coupe, the 33 Ford. I mean, there's an endless lineup. He just keeps rolling out different product segments. But today, we're going to flip the script because we're going to go from asphalt and tarmac to the dirt. Dave has once again changed the game on build your owns, and we're talking prerunner trucks.
Well, yeah,
prerunner trucks,
which is just absurd. But think about this. Think about what this guy has done. Because there was a time when if you thought kit car, you thought kind of like second tier, right? But Dave with Factory 5 Racing, like if you go and check out these cars, man, you're seeing legit high performance race cars. You're seeing badass hot rods. Dave, you know this. You guys come with some unbelievable reputation, unbelievable performance, stuff that's tried, true, and tested.
Yeah, we do. I'm glad to be here. I mean, I love you guys, and we've worked well together for a long time. And you've got to know us as we've grown. And you mentioned that experience, and everybody thinks that we sell these beautiful cars. And I always say to people, yeah, you get a great car, but that's the least thing that you're going to get because our commodity here is your skill in building. The guy comes in with a roll of money. It's like, nah, cars aren't for sale, man. You got to build it yourself. And that's kind of the price for admission. That's our tuition. And what happens, you think that's a disadvantage. Like, oh, a guy's got to build his own car. It's a lot of work. It actually is the best thing in the world because what you get out of that build is you get, a father-son experience. You get to build a family heirloom. You get stories that you'd never have if you just went out and bought a car. And so I'm in a lucky position where I'm running a really cool car company. We're a parts engineering company. We're building people's memories. We're building family heirlooms. We're building people's careers and building value and performance for sure. But it's a pretty fun gig, and I'd like to keep it for a few more decades.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, like you said, the experience isn't just one-handed. You write a check, you drive a cool car, right? You write a check and you drive a cool car. It doesn't matter if you pull up to the gas pump or in a crowd of car dudes and somebody says, wow, that's a great car, man. Did you build that? And there's that pause like, I wrote a check, But when you build something, I mean, the street cred, the pride of build and ownership that you have is 100 times more. And it's like you said, the memories don't start when you purchase the ride and go for a drive. The memories start when you open up that first box, right? When you're thinking about all the color combos and how you're going to build it and what engine and what combination and all that stuff. That's where the memories start. And the build along the way is just, to me, as memorable and as important, maybe even more than the actual car itself.
Well, yeah, it's absolutely more when you think about it. Now, we don't mean to, bash on the people that, just write checks and go buy a hot rod. More power to you. But there is something said about building it, get your hands dirty. Think about the bond. Think about connection, not just with the other guys in the school or the guys with you building it, but the community. You know how just the automotive enthusiast community is. They're very welcoming, very awesome. They collaborate. They'll help you out. That's what his schools are all about. Think about the memories that a father and a son can make, a couple of brothers, a brother, sister. I mean, there's some really cool ways to connect. What about a husband and wife? I mean, Dave's got really unlimited stories. And what you make is just experience of a lifetime. And now he's taking all of that he's learned, and we're going to apply it towards something different. We're talking dirt.
We're leaving the asphalt.
Straight getting
We're
down,
leaving the
baby.
tarmac. We're going to the dirt. So you guys stick around. We're going to talk about this totally new adventure that Dave is on. I've been in the truck. It is awesome. And we're going to dive right in it.
Dirt Naps R Us coming back on the Two Guys Garage podcast. He's Kevin Bird. I'm Willie B. We'll see you after the break. It is Two Guys Garage podcast. He is Kevin Bird. I am Willie B. We have our boy Dave of Factory 5 on with us today. He's straight rock starring it, man. This guy, he is absolutely living a dream, dude. What a fun career path you cut out, man. You really make, oh wow, holy moments for every car enthusiast, everybody looking for experience and a crazy ride at the end of it.
It's a good job. I want to try to keep it, but we're going down uncharted roads here. We got a new product that is taking us down a whole new development path, whole new learning curve, and pretty excited about it.
But before you get into that, can you tell, you really transformed, a kit car sometimes viewed as something that maybe, second tier to what you're going to find from the factory, but you have really taken a different approach. I just want to touch on that. If you've never seen a Factory 5 car, if you've never, walked around one or seen, on their website, encourage you to jump on it. You guys have taken that kit car and really, blown that experience up to a whole new level.
Well, it goes back to the early 90s. Even before that, I worked at BU Medical School and I learned CAD. And I remember when my brother and I were thinking about doing this company, we were like, we've got to dedicate everything in CAD, laser cutting, CNC. And at the time, our competitors were laughing at us. You could plasma cut steel for, 50 cents on the dollar. Laser cutting was like, aerospace technology. Nobody was using it in the custom car industry. And our first cars were all laser cut tubing, plate steel. And over time, that technology got commoditized. So all of a sudden, the things that were so expensive became really affordable. But not only were they affordable, but our cars are proper engineering, because you're talking about real precise cutting. CNC stuff delivers tolerances that you could never get by hand, and it also delivers you kind of economies of scale that we were able to make more of a car that could be totally customized, but everything was really done accurately. So I think, I'm pretty modest, but I'm not modest when it comes to what we did in the component car, kit car, hot rod industry. We took it to a whole nother level and made it really a modern industry based on modern technology, and the car's performance show. It's just a function of the technology underneath them.
Amen.
Dave, I'm going to add to that because absolutely you guys have killed it on the manufacturing side. You have super high quality stuff. But as an engineer, the design, right? You guys have race cars under those sexy bodies. Absolutely. Right? You take any old car and it's 50, 60-year-old technology. It's junko. You can bolt some stuff on. You can make it better. You can put a big motor in it. It'll never drive like one of your cars. You take the skin off of that thing. It's a full tube chassis, fully engineered, right? You've got some crazy suspension on some of these, and they're all meant to be driven super hard and have miles of smiles.
Dude, those cars,
and you put the
beg
sexy
you to
body
drive
on
them.
it. It
They
looks
beg
hot.
you to drive them. Those
Yeah.
cars, those cars, absolutely sit in a saddle of any of his cars, and they just scream, "Drive me!" They're what do you call it? An inspiring drive. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Kevin,
awesome.
you've been out and you get along with Jim and Jesper in engineering, and these guys have grown up with us, and we've got a great engineering department, and I'm really proud of the science behind it. But we were a little bit ahead of the curve on kind of this resto mod kind of. Think about it. We all want that classic shape and style and sound, but I don't want an FE motor that overheats with a heavy clutch, and I want modern technology underneath. And when you get on the brakes, you want a car to proper stop and to drive like a proper sport car, and that's what we make. And so we've always had that fusion of technology and real respect for classic design and classic lines, and that hybrid has made us, fairly successful in our area. So I have a great job, man. I get to, run a company the way I want to run it, and you guys have been out here, and I'm real proud of the company. Most of the people that work here and the technology that we're applying. So I'm pretty proud of the company, but it's scary because where I want to take the company is a real risk. And
man,
it's almost like a whole new learning curve all over again.
All right, but before we get into that new risk, out of the cars that you previously built, if you had to drive only one car for the rest of your life, out of the Factory 5 lineup, what is Dave Smith choosing?
Hands down, the car that we made for all the wrong reasons, the Daytona Coupe. That car is a race car. My wife gets in it, she says, "Oh, it smells like gas." I'm like, "Yeah, isn't it great?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
baby.
bare knuckle fighter. It's when we had made a few Cobras and some replicas, and we made a little bit of money, my brother and I were kind of going back and forth about what car to build next. And when we were kids, we had a slot car set with a Cobra and a Daytona Coupe. And I'm like, let's make the Daytona Coupe. They made 6 original ones. We figured we'd make 6, maybe 60 replicas. We made almost 1,000 of them, and it's a great car. It's a really great.
That's
property.
my favorite too, man. I think
That's
it's Bird, one of
top of my
Bird's too.
list.
Yeah.
We re-engineered it in 2017, 2018, and the Gen 3 has an all-new chassis. We really took the design to the next level. Wind tunnel testing. We won a couple titles with NASA and amateur racing. We've got a Daytona Coupe right now in Trans Am racing. So it's a good car, good design.
And it's sexy as hell.
Yeah.
And-
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Was it Joey Logano's that was in your shop a while back?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it just
right now.
Yeah, it's take that whole resto mod idea. So take a Daytona Coupe and just put the right levels of kind of race car and a little bit of carbon and some stuff on it, and it just looks so badass.
Yeah,
It's so
down,
cool.
That's the car I drive out the driveway. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm
I
with
don't
you on
blame
that one. All right, so what happened, man? You've been on asphalt and tarmac forever, as long as I've known you and beyond. And you've ripped it up. You know how to wheel. You know we've go-karted. We've chased each other around your lot
man.
there.
good
And all of a sudden now you're full into dirt. And you had this great idea, which as soon as you started to kind of plant some seeds in my head, I got it. It sprouted, right? The sun came out, and I was like,
I need to
you're
know how
onto
that idea
something.
came, because obviously there's a hole in the market, but a hole in the market doesn't necessarily cause most men to jump.
Right.
There's got to be a pivot
This
point,
was
a
a leap.
fulcrum point. This was a big leap for sure. So what was the fulcrum point? What was the point of no return that where you had to commit?
Yeah, it was a couple of things. I mean, I always tell customers, they say, "Oh, why don't you make this car? Why don't you make this car?" And there's cars that you make that are fun. But, I don't have a bunch of shareholders and investors, with their hands in my trousers telling me what to do. I get to kind of chart my own path. But part of that is, I've got a great responsibility. We've been in business for 29 years. Next year's our 30th anniversary. So I got to run a proper business in addition to having fun and building fun cars. And I think kind of the mistake in our industry is, someone has a lot of car skills or driving skills or building skills. You got to respect the business as well. And so you got to look at the business and the bottom line and say, hey, I have a responsibility to my customers to be here in 20 years, replacement parts and the like. So when I thought about the business, I said to Jim in engineering, and Jim is one of the most talented, creative design engineers. And I said to him, I don't want another build-it-yourself 2-seater sports car. That's what we do. We got the Daytona Coupe. We have a race version of the Coupe, the Cobra. We've got a 289 and a 427. We've got a race Cobra. We've got a hot rod truck, a 35 truck, different deluxe grills, full fenders. We got a GTM and 818 we took out of production. We got an F9 we're working on. How many build-it-yourself 2-seater sports cars can a company make? Okay, great. Now, what can the company do going forward to grow the company and to challenge the company? Maybe we're getting a little fat and dumb. Maybe we're pretty proud of our accomplishments, and maybe we should be a little more humble and look to the next horizon. And so, I lived in Southern California. Every Friday night, everybody's heading out to the desert, right? And you look at the prerunner market and the off-road truck market, and
Glamorous, baby, glamorous. Woo.
oh yeah, exactly. And going out to Mojave and going out past
man.
Riverside, and I have a Ford Raptor, and it's a great truck, and I wanted something more than a Ford Raptor, and that's what Factory 5 does. Is we go to the extreme levels. Maybe the OEMs can't follow us because we're tube frame construction and all that. And I said, a great CEO would say, what are the skills that your company has, and can you leverage those skills in a new market? And so, I came up with this truck idea about 15 years ago, and Jim and I just went head to head. He didn't want to do it, and I wanted to do it. And in 2015, Ford came out with the all aluminum construction. That means there's no corrosion in these trucks. And so the idea was to use our chassis engineering and manufacturing skills in chassis and suspension, which we're good at, and leverage it into a build-it-yourself, Raptor on steroids with rabies. Okay, basically a build-it-yourself prerunner truck.
Who would have thought you could outdo a Raptor? Right?
Exactly.
Like you look at that thing.
Anybody
and you
that's
see its
driven one.
capabilities.
Hey, I'm not hating it. It's a badass truck. But if you take one out of the glamorous, well, there's miles of roads with big, huge whoops and people that are jumping sand rails, 50 feet. A Raptor is just a truck. It's just a pickup truck at that point. But if you're talking a pre-runner truck, that's mobbing 70 miles, 80 miles an hour down there and just sucking up all these big, massive bumps, whoops, hanging its ass out over trails, hucking over, big sand dunes and whatnot. Now that's a contender. That's something totally different.
Well, that's
than a Raptor.
$250,000 ride or more, right? So that's the gap between a Raptor and a pre-runner, right?
There's exactly, and I think that great businesses leverage their skills and they look for opportunities. And I think the opportunity, and by the way, I could be wrong. The truck has not been a smashing success as of yet. Our sales are picking up, and I'm pretty excited about it. But
well, you just launched the thing. We give yourself a couple of weeks.
We sold, I think, about 20 or 25 of them. But the thing is,
nice.
that if you look at the truck market, and I looked at it hard, and I studied it, and I looked at all the trucks there at SEMA. The truck industry is massive. There's not a truck guy out there that doesn't put a lift kit on it or a set of wheels or a roll bar or light bar or whatever. And so the truck customer is already a guy who is used to customizing, right? And Jeep guys as well. My daughter drives a Jeep Wrangler, and it's all lifted and it's got lights on it. It's real cool. But the customer who builds a Factory 5 is a lot like the guy who has a truck and who modifies it. So when I looked at the truck market, you have the OEMs, standard F-150s, GMC Sierras, all the regular trucks. Then you've got the TRX, the TRX, the Dodge, and you've got the Raptor, and now the Raptor R, and you've got a pretty cool upper echelon of OEMs. And then there's this massive gap between $110,000, $160,000 Raptors and Raptor Rs and OEM trucks, and then where you pick up with a real pre-runner, which is a $250,000 on a truck, right? And there's nothing in the middle, and a lot of those pre-runners you can't put a license plate on. So I'm like, wait a minute, there's a big gap in the market. And that's our target. And if we mix in the build-it-yourself component, now a guy can have a truck that maybe can outperform a Raptor R and a TRX and the best of the OEMs, and maybe it comes within striking distance of a full-on pre-runner, but a guy builds it in his garage, so now he can defray a lot of the cost of that, and he can have something he could never have before. That's the Factory 5 formula. So taking our skills and going off-road, that's the plan.
Yep, I'm 100%.
And what a formula. What a formula. So think about that, and we're going to get into all those details coming up next, but you have a chance to build something in your own garage, right, that's on the same level or close to a pre-runner. For most people, 99% of the people out there driving, you're never going to know the difference. That can outperform these guys that spend massive, huge money to get in these other applications that you can outperform. And this is something you can hang your hat on because you touched it, you built it, you created it with, the people you choose, the team you have. So how's that happen? Ooh, this is going to be good. Find out next. Factory 5, Two Guys Garage Podcast. Kevin Bird, Willie B. We'll see you after the break. It is Two Guys Garage Podcast. He is Kevin Bird. I am Willie B. Dave Smith. Factory 5 race cars. You guys got to go find him online. You're not going to believe this leap he took. About a year ago, well, it's actually a lot longer than a year. This has been in the process, in the mind forever, but he finally put all the pieces together. He came up with the idea of what's known today as the XTF. Dave, the floor is yours. Start with the chassis. How obviously, so much in the world of suspension to outperform everything that's out there. You started knocking off the totem pole, bro.
Specs, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, and Kevin, you came out and, Willie, you asked the right question. You start with the chassis because if you go to the top level echelon of the OEMs, they still have that Ford F-150 frame in the Raptor, right? And it's modified,
yes.
Stronger suspension parts, really cool truck and everything. But if you wanted to get, we were looking for 20 inches of suspension trouble, not 14, right? I think we've got 16 inches front, and that's because of the four-wheel drive, right? You can get more if you get rid of the four-wheel drive up front.
Yes.
And then we've got 20 inches in the back.
20 inches, bro.
So we started with a chassis, full-on tube chassis. It's probably a little bit more than twice as strong as the F-150s, about 100 pounds heavier, so not tremendously heavier. It's just that CAD and tubular steel engineering can do a lot more than a ladder frame. So we built the chassis, and you take the F-150 cab, which, by the way, the F-150 cab comes along with everything that we suck at, right? Air conditioning, stereo, power seats with the lumbar stuff and all that. All that comes in the cab with a VIN number, and you take the running gear from that Ford. So it's got an F-150, right? They made a ton of them with the Coyote motor, and we thought, all right, we got an F-150. It's got a V8 in it. It's got, we're going to replace the chassis. We're going to use the cab. We're going to give you all new front end carbon fiber fenders and hood and rear fenders, 90 inches wide. So it's, the rear end's 10 inches wider than an F-150. It's a monster truck, but Kevin drove it, and when you start with the chassis and the suspension, now you're not modifying an OEM suspension, so you don't get that, like, the guys with the lifted Jeeps, they didn't change any of their suspension parts. At 60 miles an hour, they're all puckered up. They're about to go into the ditch,
death
right?
wobble galore. Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, I told Kevin, go down the highway with a truck, go 100 miles an hour, and the thing is planted, and it's driving. And it's made to go high speed with huge suspension travel, and that's what we designed. So it's a build-it-yourself, full-on prerunner truck that runs between really the top of the OEMs and comes within striking distance of the of a full-on prerunner that would be a Baja truck or a Mint truck.
Yeah, dude, I have to say one of the most impressive things. First, you gotta, guys, just get on the web and check out Factory 5. Check out the XTF truck. Right, lots of pictures. You can see the frame, the suspension. It is all legit. Like when you see this frame, you're gonna like mind blow. It's not just a box tubing. It's this full like 3D ladder frames. You look at that thing, you're like, oh damn, yes. And you can just set the body right on top of that sucker, right?
That's
and
awesome,
you look
man.
at the size of the tubular control arms,
in the
right?
warehouse,
All those suspension parts.
It's 20 feet long. It's 800 pounds. It's like you need a winch and a crane to move it around. It's awesome.
Yeah, but it's
That's
100 pounds heavier. Whoop-de-doo. That's amazing that you get all that strength in there. And then what are the OEs? They're locked into what they build in high volume. And anytime you buy a vehicle and you modify it, you're constrained by, right, where those suspension pickup points are and all that stuff, right? You can't change any of it. And Dave just said, hey, exactly. What are the things that we don't do as well as an OE? The fit and finish of the interior and all that stuff. Well, hey, we know how to make suspensions and chassis, and let's just marry the two, and it's brilliant. And like I said, the thing that impressed me most was when you think of a pre-runner-like truck, and you think of 20 inches of suspension, you're thinking, this thing is going to rock off-road, but oh my God, what a handful on the street.
What a mushy body roll,
Right,
hard to
right.
control
Dude,
during
37 inches
runs on the road.
Right?
Like he said, absolutely planted, daily driver. You cannot do that in a lifted Jeep. Like you get in a lifted Jeep, yes, you can drive it daily, but you're doing all the wobbles and the thing drives like crap. This thing drives awesome every day on the street, and then you just take a wrong turn and you're off-road.
Okay,
You know?
then what'd you do with the suspension that's so different, so unique? Tell us a little bit about the suspension on this truck, because it sounds to me that's not the recipe that most people have. You add a lot of height, a lot of suspension, a lot of travel. You tend to get mushy suspension, a lot of body roll. You get to follow those ruts and waves and pavement and those bumps in concrete. So what'd you do different?
Well, first of all, we had to learn different because, Jim and Jesper in engineering are used to, Colin Chapman, if you drop it and it falls, it's too heavy, right? In a race car, you want everything strong, but really, really light. Weight is your enemy. Off-road, you don't care about weight. You care about strength. And so, one of our engineers was left Factory 5 and was hired by a partner company of ours, Local Motors, and he helped develop the Rally Fighter, which was an off-road, air-capable rally-type car. The company went out of business, but the car they designed was pretty cool, and Colby came back, and Colby had a lot of hands-on Baja experience and brought his off-road experience for the last 5 years back to our company, worked with Jim and Jesper in engineering, and so there was a lot of learning curves to getting, the control arms, whatever you made, it's not big enough. It's not heavy enough. It's not strong enough. This is a truck that's a 6,500 pound truck that's going to come down from 10, 20 feet onto a suspension and keep going at 75 miles an hour. So, strength and engineering was a total relearn, Oh, yeah. So we went through a lot of versions of suspension. Right now, we spent about a week out in Ocotillo, California with Fox Shocks. And Fox has been a great partner, and they helped us develop the shocks for the truck. What you don't realize is rebound on these trucks. This wheel's got to get back on the dirt, right? And it's going through cycles that you could never really replicate out here in New England. So we had to go to the desert, and we learned a ton with Fox. I don't think we broke anything. I think Jim, if he did anything, he overshot on the durability side because he was so insecure about designing an off-road truck and looking at what's on the market. So our suspension is our own geometry, and that's why it works well on the highway and off-road. But the shocks and the springs, that was all Fox Shocks helping us. We really didn't know our way around, that market. And you don't realize, you see a pre-runner going over whoops, and it's going through, 60, 70, 80 cycles, like that. And the shocks heat up, and the durability on these things is impressive. So, it's an all new market for us. And I think everybody who's driven the truck, I think the best quote is Mike Kim, who is the development driver for Fox. He drove the truck for almost a week, and he said, where you guys ended up is just shy of a full-on $250,000, $300,000 pre-runner, but it's got license plates on it, and you could drive it every day. And that's another thing is all of our Factory 5 cars, that's the weekend car. That's the Harley. That's the garage queen, right? And you take it out to car shows. And some guys are driven it every day, but most guys, they're the trophy car. With the truck, you could commute in it. You could drive it year round. There's nothing stopping it. The powder coating on it is a saline resistant, corrosion resistant powder coating. So it's made to be driven and driven every day. And like Kevin said, get off the pavement and go hit the 2 tracks and go. So it's exciting for us, but a lot of engineering and development has gone into it.
Okay, tell me about the power plant. So obviously the suspension, loving what I'm hearing about that, loving the suspension numbers, the travel, loving the geometry, the chassis. What do you got for a power plant?
Well, the F-150s we're using are 2015 to 2020. We had a customer use a 2021. There's some body changes. We had to move the fuel tank, but when it comes to powertrains, Ford had the EcoBoost 6, which is most of the F-150s were the EcoBoost, and then about 35% of them are the 5-liter Coyote. So back in 95, when we launched the company, we leveraged the Cobra, the build-it-yourself Cobra. We leveraged the Mustang aftermarket. I mean, back then, the 5.0, that old 302 kind of got Ford back into the hot rod and performance market. Remember the HO, and it came out.
Oh yeah, man.
Pistons and the 225 horse motor. Well, we harnessed all that aftermarket. Well, the same thing is the Coyote now. It's got a huge aftermarket right now. The truck that we just built for Joey Logano, we donated to his foundation. He's going to get it in a couple weeks. That truck's got the stock 5-liter in it, but it's got an Edelbrock blower on it, and it's making about 650, 700 horsepower. So now you got all the power, 37-inch tires, and we just hitched our wagon to the Ford Performance aftermarket horse. It's already there.
Well, it's like a marriage, right? It's like when
totally.
two halves come together and they make a greater something, like that's exactly what you guys have done.
A little unity candle there at Factory 5.
Well, yeah, because think about a lot of people, right? Especially when you're thinking about your daily. Yeah, we can take out our hot rods and on a nice day, and maybe we're sweating because the air conditioning isn't quite working, and it's loud because the seals aren't very good, all that stuff, right? We can tolerate it for X number of days, but there's a little bit of you get back on your daily, and it's a nice ride. This is one of those that it's kind of that rare bird where you can have a daily with all your interior just like you think of your brand new truck, but it's got this testosterone set of cojones underneath of that sucker that can do, God knows what.
You could go jump this thing 40, 50 feet, man. You could jump your truck 40, 50 feet. Like, what?
Oh, yeah. Well, Kevin and Willie, one of our first customers, Eric Trevis, he built a truck, and we brought it to SEMA. And he has a Factory 5, and he says, his Factory 5 Daytona Coupe is his other car, but his truck, his Factory 5 XTF, is his car. That's his daily driver. And he goes, it's the first Factory 5 that I could pull a Factory 5 with. So he's pulling a Factory 5 with a Factory 5. And it underscores the usability of the truck. It's an OEM reliable F-150 on steroids. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's and you could jump at 50 feet. That's what you huck it at 70, baby. Whoosh! You guys ever done that in a pre-runner?
Challenge.
I was just going to ask, what was kind of one of the big challenges? So tell us.
Every great thing has a challenge that comes to it, and how we talk about when you build something, it's not easy to build a car. We try to make it as easy as possible, but it's a hard thing to do, and there's nothing great that's easy. If you really think about it, all the great things in your life you had to work for, you had to try, you had to really struggle, and that makes it valuable, right?
Strength and struggle, baby. Strength and struggle.
We're a small company. We put a lot of engineering dollars and time into this truck, and what we discovered was we didn't just invent a new product. We invented a new product category. So if you think about like Can-Am Spyder, that 3-wheel tricycle backwards, right?
Yeah.
They realized that, and I read a ton about new product development in new categories. And if you think about it, the guy's riding a motorcycle. He's getting a little older, and maybe he doesn't want to ride a tricycle. Honda's got a trike and Harley's got a trike. You're riding a tricycle, for God's sakes, right? It's not good. Well, Can-Am said, hey, let's put those front wheels up front, make it look cool, some body work. They came out with an all-new product category. There's a whole bunch of examples of products that are new categories. No one right now is out there thinking, I'm going to build me one of those build-yourself prerunner trucks. It's an all-new category. So we've got to have patience, and really social media came to the rescue, because now we can spread the word without having the marketing budget of, say, a Ford Motor Company. But the biggest challenge here is we invented not just a new product, but a new product category. And once people drive it and see it and realize it, heads explode and say, I got to have it. But they don't even know they want it right now.
Yeah, Dave, when I saw you last time, I think in my head anyway, and I could be completely full of it, but to me, it's one of those products that when you're out crawling, when you're out on the desert and you're doing your thing, and all of a sudden you turn around and some dude comes ripping by in that truck, it's like an instant sell in my head, right? Like
WTF,
when you
like,
start to
what
see
the-
those things populating all of the normal areas where everybody is, like, it's gonna be a head turner. Because what else is there like that? There isn't,
That's all, yeah. Nothing
It's a
else out there.
standalone. It's badass. It checks every single box. The guy drives it straight out there, rips on it, and drives it home. Right? It does all the things you want. I think, just like you said, it's let the wildfire go.
There was
Strike
a guy
the
named
match
Russell
and
McGuire. I don't know if you read a lot of business texts. The guy Russell McGuire talked about new product categories, and first you define the category, and we're defining it right now. And then the next step is you establish that you're the leader in that category. You got to own that category. So right now we don't have any competitors. I guarantee you, when people start to see our trucks winning races out in the field, when we see volume, people are going to say, hey, that's a great idea. We're going to do that too. So we don't have a lot of time to do a lot of work. And so I'm pushing the company pretty hard, but it's also exciting because, oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's not Catilla. That's the Fox Shocks development testing. Yeah.
yeah, that's the carbon body, right? That one has
all
a carbon
body, which is another. Even a pre-runner's got fiberglass panels because of our previous product. Our
four-door even.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
I love
Dude,
you,
that
Willie,
thing is
man.
so righteous.
Yeah, it's such a sick ride.
Yeah, so
I
you've got glass front end and rear end, right? The whole truck. So literally, the kit comes with everything to make this thing. So you got the chassis, suspension, everything minus what? Wheels and paint, right?
Yeah, wheels and tires. You got to get your own paint. If you buy the carbon panels, you don't have to paint them. They're paint free.
Exactly.
I mean, they come clear coated and matte finish. They're beautiful. So
And they look awesome. Yeah.
it's
so that's something to think about if you're in the market for the truck, right? Do you get paint? Do you hide it all that coolness, or do you get the carbon and just let it shine? Skip the whole paint process. All you need is the wheels.
Well, that whole
right? Wheels
carbon
and
stuff,
tires.
the argument on the carbon is paint keeps getting more and more expensive. And one thing I know after 29 years of build-yourself cars is paint work is one of the biggest challenges. So the carbon, we had to get to the point where our carbon was so good, you didn't have to paint it. And that's a real challenge. So we put a lot of money into the basically the processes that go into the truck. And so the carbon process one, we spent a lot of money. We've got the right partners on that.
Nice. So I'm thinking in my head, right? If I'm listening,
that's
anybody that's listening here, you should probably check out our podcast on the web. You can see the visuals. We'll splice in some good some videos in here, and then go check out Factory 5's website because it is pretty stellar. I gotta say,
Yeah,
I think you
man.
knocked this one out of the park, Dave.
I'm hoping.
It's on my
I'm
list
excited
right
about it.
next to the Daytona Coupe.
What a cool truck. I'm on the lookout for one of those Ford trucks. I'll be contacting you soon because who doesn't want
Yeah.
one of those, please? Who doesn't want to check out our show? There's weekends.
wait.
What?
Hold on, man. Dave, you got to drop a price. What are these things going for? So think about a pre-runner
Oh,
truck,
yeah.
$250,000. $250,000. This comes with everything to build what we've been talking about, minus tires and maybe paint, right?
24,
What are we talking
25 grand right now. And
25 grand.
yeah, and Jim has a really good R&D project that's going to be done in about 6 weeks. That's a stage one. So if a guy wants to build this truck, he can do it in stages. For 10 grand, we give him the panels and a lot of the suspension parts. And then stage two, after he's driven it for a year or two, he can buy the chassis and go to the whole hog. So yeah, it's 10 to 25
That's a
grand.
steal. That's a
Pretty good
steal,
price point. Yeah.
right? You're competing with a $300,000 truck, pretty much.
That's where
Right.
that's where value engineering comes in. That's where it's really tough to do.
Yeah, just think about all the parts on. Pick your Bronco, pick your Jeep, pick your whatever. Think about all the parts that you got to build up, right? Your axles, your everything's like all that stuff.
And you crush them with this
where
thing.
you're going to add up and what you're going to end up with.
Oh, you'll be able to. Yeah. And the engineering on this is proper. So I think we got. I think we got it by the tail.
All right, man.
Yeah, or other parts that we can't say on this podcast. Maybe the next one though. All right, man. You guys take care. Make sure you check out our show every weekends on the Motor Trend Network. Check your local listings. It's also available on Discovery Plus and Max. Thanks to our guest Dave Smith, Factory 5. Check out the website. He's unbelievable stuff they're doing. Thanks to our producer Scoop, senior producer Justin Carter, executive producer Bob Ecker. He's Kevin Bird. I'm Willie B, and this is the Two Guys Garage podcast.
Yeah, don't forget, we've got a website, twoguysgarage.com. We're everywhere on social, at Two Guys Garage. Now, this Two Guys Garage podcast, it's copyright 2024, Britain Productions Incorporated, all rights reserved. All right,
Cool stuff you're doing, man.
Yeah, we got to take this thing from street driving to meet you out somewhere in the desert, Dave. I want to help.
We got to
this
go
thing.
racing. Yeah, that's the next step. Is we got a couple teams that we're working with, but we got to go race.
Nice.
We got to win something. Or we got to run.
This
Baja.
team racing it. This team racing. I'll do a Baja race.
Well, we got that. We got. We got to race. We got to race. I have a feeling you like to race.
I love the race, bro. I love the race. Yeah, I'm kind of inspired. Go figure. All right, man. Love you, Dave, bro. You're the best.
Hey, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. We'll
right,
see you guys in the next Two Guys Garage podcast. Take care.
Hey, thank you.